You lied to me when I had amnesia! You tried to change who I am!
His very personality? His core? What made him uniquely him?
Oh, this video pains me. Kind of, but not enough to not publish. Is that a double negative? Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about American Dad. Or more specifically, Francine Smith. Now, next to Roger, Francine is my favorite of the main characters. And honestly, again, next to Roger, she's probably the Smith I most like in real life. We're both crazy, neurotic people, and I used to have a blonde phase during 2021. That being said, I do not condone her actions on this list. Well, most of them. To be fair, I do like Francine, and many of these I do find hilarious, darlings, but I am a critic, so I must separate my own objective enjoyment from the truth. So, let's discuss. These are the top, I think like 13, worst things Francine has done, starting with...
History is so stupid. If that stuff is so great, how come we're not still doing it? I do like the name Benedict Arnold, though. That'd be a boss name for like a massive bulldog.
Wow, she makes Heather Chandler look like Karen Smith, because despite the title, Mean Girls only really pertains to Janice, Regina, and Katie, and I will stick by that. Gretchen and Karen were pretty nice people. Francine tries to get involved in Steve's school, and to this end, gets a job as a guidance counselor at Steve's school. Where'd you think? She was gonna go to Haley's school? That was already an episode with Stan. At the school, she learns from Roger about the Golden Girls, a group of popular girls who do stuff. As he describes,
they make the rules. They wear men's boxer briefs as shorts over one-piece bathing suits. They roll their own tampons. And they all have matching gold bowling jackets.
And also, they're all named after the ladies from the show. I should have led with that. They would be fun to cosplay as, though. I just don't think anybody would know who they are. Francine decides to get in good with the Golden Girls, who are literal teenagers, since when she was in high school, she was accosted and bullied by the popular kids, which tracks considering now in Gwen. Francine did not become cool until she was in a bunch of fights and stabbed Becky and her college roommate.
You guys want to hang out sometime? Beat it, Four Eyes. I'm with the cools now. God, they were the best.
Francine tries to fit in with them by cutting her hair, which she is actually kind of rocking, not gonna lie, and having Roger cover her shifts as guidance counselor. Now I get it, they did make fun of her, and the plot of Francine becoming a mean girl is a good one, because no offense, she totally is one considering episodes like Don't You Be My Neighbor. But she convinces herself she's doing all of this and being mean to Steve in general and denying the fact she knows him in order to help him, which he isn't, even if it means bullying him for being a dweeb, or talking behind his back. See, Steve is doing a fashion show for the French Club with his friends, and Francine tries to convince them to go and clap, but make it like ironic in order to support him. But they instead take the opportunity to pelt him with chowder, and they make Francine be the one to pull the bucket, lest she not receive her special jacket. No, not your Jackie, but Francine, seriously, that's your baby! He's a part of you!
Doing what you say. I guess she doesn't want this.
I get to be a Golden Girl?
Oh, and she also avoids her husband and pretends not to know him nor Klaus.
Do you know that dweeb?
He's my friend Stan's kid. Like 10 years ago, he drew a picture of me and it was like a circle.
To her credit, she does own up to what happened with Steve, who takes it in stride, and she finds out he's a better person than her, honestly.
You're not mad?
I wasn't even covered in chowder for that long. Roger, and who I assume are the other janitors, licked it clean off me. Small price to pay for getting to express what's in my soul.
And she does pay for it, as she humiliates herself in front of the kids by breakdancing, and telling the secrets of the Golden Girls to the whole school, which I probably should have led with.
Your file just says you grind your teeth. Did you murder someone?
She grinds her teeth! The Golden Girls are a bunch of losers!
I grind my teeth? Am I a loser? Yes, you are. Shut up, Catherine. But yeah, not one of her finest moments.
I assume you work there.
Sounds like he had a problem and he was trying to make it yours.
I could talk to you for hours.
Well, I could listen to you all day, so there.
How have I never talked about this episode ever? Well, I mean, you did talk about not dating Haley. I don't think that counts. Wasn't that in another episode? Wasn't this one the one with the papers? Now, even if I feel like Francine and Stan are very similar people who share very similar values, even if they don't want to admit it, as I think you and your spouse should complement each other, well, with Francine and Stan, it greatly depends on the writers. And in this case, it's one of those times where Stan is Franny's polar opposite, and they're two totally different people. Lately, Francine has been embarrassed by Stan's uncultured swine behavior. And to make matters worse, she's been invited to a wedding of her more well-put-together friend.
That guy who was an embarrassing jerk.
Oh, Stan?
Feet slap!
She wants Stan to be the husband of her dreams, not the one who just dances in public with Nathan. And she gets that wish when Stan gets amnesia.
You are a caring and sensitive man.
I am?
Yes, you really are.
Now, normally in shows, when somebody gets amnesia, they become blank slates, and Francine takes advantage of this to turn Stan into the husband of her dreams, which means turning him from Stan into a super sensitive, loving man who sells furniture.
In the futon game since 95, dude. Remember selling futons to college kids out of that old truck you bought from Letitia's daddy? Oh. It's okay, we'll get you there, Stan.
Ew, furniture, gross. Everybody knows those places are a front for the mafia, totally. Who really goes in there? And why are there so many?
You can go, it's green.
Is that really necessary? A honk's the angriest sound a car can make.
Ew, what is with that sweater? And with that weirdo hair? Everybody knows the only cool sweaters are striped sweaters. The thing is, even if that's the husband Francine wants, well, she has more in common with Stan than she possibly thinks. So Stan quickly annoys her with his newfound behavior. I was gonna say a word that's kind of related to cats, but I can't.
And he's a great lover. A gentleman in the streets, but a thirsty dog in the sheets.
Oh.
And, well, to the point where she goes to the wedding with him, he starts to doubt the validity of their love.
I don't think you're right for me. And it makes me sad, and I don't want to waste these tears, so I'm watering this plant.
This is why when your spouse goes through cartoon amnesia, you don't try to completely change them. Only a little. Everybody knows that. When you don't listen, you create monsters who, shudder, sell furniture! Of course, Francine does redeem herself by jogging Stan's memory back, but he's still so upset by what happened that he wants to be left alone for a little while. And, well...
Mama, when's Daddy coming home?
Well, honey, probably not before the futon market cools off.
Yeah, he ain't coming back, is he?
Steve, I'm not angry at you for stealing. I'm angry that you got caught.
Ah! Blouse monster! No! I won't put you on!
Braniel, what the hey? Matilda had a horrible life, and they even compiled it into a book, movie, and musical. And yet you leave her to rot in a sweatshop? What the hey? In Crouch Walkers, we learn that Francine has done what Lois Griffin couldn't. Steal over the course of multiple years, but never get caught. Because unfortunately, it's only a crime if you get caught.
Oh, God! You're gonna lock me in your closet! But that's where the blouse monster lives!
She led Steve into her little world of stealing, and they steal all kinds of cool crap together as son and mother. If you want to steal from anywhere, steal from Walmart. They let you go until you steal over a certain amount. I mean, I shouldn't suggest crimes, I'm a YouTuber. Steve suggests they steal from the Gap. Actually, Kitty, it's the Gash. Yeah, but I can't really say Gash, and Gap flows better in a script, and it's clearly the Gap they're going to, which Francine does warn about.
Let's do this! Let's lift some khakis!
The Gash? You can't start there. The security is top-notch.
And when Steve doesn't come back, Francine discovers he's been forced to work at a sweatshop run by the Gap, where he'll be worked to death just for the crime of shoplifting.
I was just wondering, who's my union representative?
Oh, God! Ow!
Anything else I can help you with?
No thanks.
Okay.
Okay, well. Francine travels to go rescue him by posing as a government agent, and gets a tour of the sweatshop and sees firsthand just how bad it is and how they keep getting away with all this.
No! Not the sweater fold!
Now, something I want to make clear is this is a Pleasure Island type of scenario, where even if Francine rescues Steve, the situation at hand is at such a point, and apparently government sanctioned, that she can't possibly stop it or save everyone. And that's scary and yet somehow realistic. But even a little saving is better than no saving. While on the tour, Francine meets another shoplifter named Matilda.
Really an inspector. I'm a shoplifter, just like you.
Are you the one? The savior foretold in our legends, come to free us from our bondage?
Huh?
I want the scenario where Francine and Steve become the shoplifting version of Moses. But Francine makes a promise to take Matilda with her.
Wait, if you're getting out of here, could you take me with you?
You have my word, Matilda.
Lying liar who lies. I hope your lies keep you warm at night. As expected, Francine does rescue Steve, but in the process, well, she forgot about Matilda. And doesn't remember until like months later, even though her husband is in the CIA and could probably negotiate for not just the release of Matilda, but everybody else trapped there. Because honestly, I don't think this is like the only sweatshop.
Matilda!
Yes, Francine, Matilda. You forgot Matilda. You promised her you would save her, and then you forgot about her. How are you gonna live with yourself? Even Matilda's pissed at you. Correct.
We wish we could give you a roof over your head and t-shirts. Yours always, Stan and Francine Smith. Why would you write that?
I didn't think he'd live past 10.
To be fair, this one involved her and Stan, but I haven't gotten to this episode yet, or at least the segment, so yeah. It's one of my rules that when I make a video, I should try to include at least one different thing that I said last time, even if I do talk about the same stuff. You ever seen those commercials for sponsor a child for a few dollars a day, if at that? I wonder if those things are actually legit. Just saying, I've done a lot of charity research, and some charities are very bad, especially Autism Speak and Susan G. Komen. I imagine with the child sponsor one, you would get the occasional update, but what if the child were to come to your front door in Ricky Spanish? Stan and Francine discover one of the children they sponsored, Tunji, who was voiced by Wayne Brady, BTW, has come to live with them.
I love this place!
He's so positive and grateful about everything.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time taking things for granted with this kid in the house.
No, I'll be honest, this is one of those I find it too funny not to laugh at, but objectively, I do still think what she was doing was bad. I like to be fair. Francine and Stan should have told Tunji they couldn't keep him because they already have 2 other kids, plus a son-in-law and a goldfish and an alien. They only sponsored him, not adopted him, and they never asked why Tunji decided to go to them. Like he decided out of the blue to stay with them, or he has nowhere else to go, or maybe he blew up his village back home and he's gonna kill them all.
Yes, I will stay forever.
Is there any chance you're gonna surprise us and be the Prince of Zamunda?
None.
But honestly, I feel like if he explained there was problems or something, maybe they would be a bit more accommodating, but their actions do not help. They treat Tunji like a stray dog they don't want anymore. And at one point, they abandon him in a Costco, even if he's probably like the same age as their son.
Sure we can just leave him here?
He can live off free food samples, watch HD television, and look at the high ceiling. He can grow as tall as he wants in here.
Okay, let's just get this over with.
To their credit, they do feel bad about it and try to rescue him and take him home, but then they remember why they abandoned him in the first place. They're annoyed by him. Even if he's like a child, dude!
The most generous, wonderful people I have ever...
Ugh, this guy.
I forgot how much he sucked.
And what's ironic is, Stan's in the CIA. I feel like he could have relocated Tunji to be with a good family who would actually want him, or give him a good job, or something until he comes of age. But why abandon him at a Costco? Everybody knows if you abandon a kid, you abandon them at Pathmark, right?
Because we're helpers. It's just in our nature. We help.
All of Anchor Fran, all of it. You are not a helper. Mr. Rogers would hate you. Greg has been Moby lately since Terry dumped him, you know that whole scenario, and Francine decides to help by setting him up with a new man. They decide to, their words not mine, pump him for information.
Now remember, we're pumping him for information about his perfect guy.
Well, I think Stan should be doing the pumping, not Francine. But Greg catches on and admits he'd rather want a work partner than a partner, since it's hard to find an anchor he has chemistry with on screen.
Please, Francine, to help a friend?
Since he's good friends with Francine already, he invites her to go behind the anchor desk, only until they're able to find somebody else.
It's the banter. But you can't just plug anybody into that other chair. You need chemistry, and chemistry is hard.
Tell me about it. I burned down my school in chemistry class.
Oh god, there are those types of news anchors who talk and laugh at each other rather than actually report the news. Like, I'm watching this for the news, not to watch your witty banter. Why do you guys do that? Already they do something bad. After the weatherman dies, the power starts to go to Franny's head, and she schemes to get rid of Greg, even if that's literally his job, like to tell people the news.
Now I really need to do my vocal warm-ups. Me, not Greg, not Greg, not Greg. All that is his will be mine.
Dude, no, you did this for Greg. Let him stay. Thankfully, Francine's thunder, pun not intended, is stolen by Memphis Stormfront, who has better chemistry with Greg, which is ironic considering how Memphis is the weatherman. So she gets him fired. Out of sadness, Greg quits to run his own bakery, and Francine starts to feel guilty.
Oh my God! I was so busy telling myself I was helping Greg, I couldn't see how much I was hurting him.
Thank you, billboards. Francine can't get Memphis rehired, but the station manager gives her an idea. So Francine gets Stan to unleash chemtrails and wind turbines to cause a huge freak storm, which can easily kill the two of them since there's lightning and multiple funnel clouds full of gators.
In a stunning development, we are now in the midst of a full-fledged gator storm!
I don't know, go watch the episode. Memphis and Greg are rehired, but as Memphis says, well...
You made this storm? Lives were destroyed.
But Greg's life was fixed.
Yes, good thing you helped your friends, but you killed dozens if not hundreds of people. It made him feel lower than he already was. Glad you're happy about it, and that you scared Memphis and Greg.
And put some mustard on it.
Aren't you straight? Yes, but I'm terrified of these people. They can control the weather.
In BGW, Memphis is straight, so basically he's just doing all this so he doesn't die because he's convinced that if he doesn't, they're going to kill him.
Gwen! Got a light?
We all know Francine has a very tense relationship with fire, but unlike some other examples, well, this one was more accidental, I guess you can say. Albeit, it did lead to her doing some bad things as a grown-up. At the start of the show, we learn that Francine has a sister through Mama and Baba named Gwen, who is quite hot per Stan. Yeah, that rhymes. Really, this dude makes Andrelphus look sane by comparison. And then saying, like, oh, she's not like a blood relative, does not make it worse, because she basically considers herself relatives in all but name, because that's what they are! When we eventually meet Gwen, well, they retcon a few things by instead making Francine the baby sister, where when she was a freshman in high school, Gwen was a senior. We also learn that Francine will practically bend over backwards to cover for her sister, including lying to her parole officer and letting her run a sweatshop in the garage.
Show me new car!
Gwen's running a sweatshop. You can't let her do this here.
I'm surprised at you.
Is it really all that bad? I mean, Stan had a sweatshop that made bears. Haley protests, but Francine reveals the real reason she covers for her. Because Gwen is technically covering for her.
Needs to tell you. So it's time for you to go.
Fine, I'm gone. But you tell your mom that someday she'll understand how I felt all these years.
Blackmail! When they were in high school together, Francine smoked one of Gwen's cigarettes in the chemistry lab in order to try and fit in, and accidentally started a huge fire. Since this would destroy Francine's life, or at least get her into major trouble, Gwen covered for her and took responsibility. Ironically, why did Francine smoke? Because she wanted to seem cool.
I thought if I acted like Gwen, I could have everything she had. So I pulled out her pack of wagon burners, and I tried one.
Oh, the irony. Now I get it. Gwen is her sister, and she'd want to help Francine, who made a careless mistake. But I hate to say it, I feel like even without the fire, Gwen would have probably still been bad news. Maybe she wouldn't be participating in illegal activities, maybe yes, but we did see signs even back then she was doing bad stuff, even if it was as simple as breaking the rules in major ways, like smoking. It's just that in that case, I don't think she would have dirt on Francine that would cause her to enable her. When Haley catches on, Gwen decides to frame Francine again by burning down the school. Again.
Oh, good. You're here. It'll make it a lot easier to frame you.
Jesus Christ, is that school made of matches? The two do make up, but...
Welcome, peace pipe?
Spark it up.
No! Why does this keep happening to us?
Yeah, not one of your finer ideas. But Francine does take responsibility, which I do commend her for. Yeah, too bad this doesn't have any weight, and she doesn't have to face any meaningful consequences because Stan is a CIA agent who can call in favors to judges. But Gwen...
The important thing is, we've let go of the past. We're totally free.
I'm not. And when I get out of here, I'm coming for you, sis.
Still strangely hasn't come back. I mean, she's made cameos, but not full-on appearances. But I wanted more consequences. I guess maybe it's because her voice actress was Uma Thurman, but they could easily recast her. They do that for everybody.
Francine! None! Sister Wilk, actually, as it says in Leviticus.
I don't know what the it says in Leviticus?
I know the episode lampshades it, and I don't care. Francine cheated on Stan for no good reason and had no intention of telling either him or their daughter about this. The kidney stains in the picture has Francine meet up with her old friend Kelly, aka Kelly the Kidney Killer. Kelly was her best friend before she got married, and she got her name because she would compel people to party so hard and drink so much alcohol that their kidneys would shut down. I mean, that's the reason Francine only has one, and this will be important.
Kelly killed my other one when we had a tequila pounding contest with comedian George Wallace, who went on to become the second most famous black man in a Kangol hat.
Francine goes out with Kelly and Haley, even though I don't think Haley's 21, and Haley drinks to excess until she passes out from her kidneys shutting down because she is a lightweight.
Oh, my insides hurt.
And with both of Haley's kidneys shutting down, she needs a kidney transplant or she'll die. The thing is, kidney transplants are hard to come by even if you are on death's door. You basically go on a giant list, which is why family is always an option. But is it really? Steve is a minor, so that's like a last resort. Francine only has one thanks to Kelly, and Stan might not be Haley's biological father. Wait, what?
I don't know if you'll be a match.
What? Don't be ridiculous. Why wouldn't I be a match?
Well, there's a chance you're not Haley's father.
Yep, you heard that right. Francine cheated on Stan a few days before their wedding at her bachelorette party, even though I feel it was more like just her and Kelly went out to a bar, so it's not really a party, but hey. She cheated with some random guy named Joel Larson, and even if I don't think he's Haley's father, since Haley has more in common with Stan than him, physical appearance aside, well, nobody knows for certain, and the fact they didn't means Haley will potentially die, meaning that Francine has allowed Stan and Haley to live a lie for like the past, let's say, 20 years, and was content to take that secret to her grave until it would literally blow up in her face.
Can you find it in your heart to forgive me?
No! The devil sent you into my life to destroy it! You make me sick! I'm starting to think my body language could use some improvement.
And also, we don't know if Haley herself ever finds out, which I feel she has a right to know. You guys know my opinion on edumacating Lucky. Out of everybody, Luann should have been the one to know. Here, yeah, I think Haley should have been the one to know, especially, like, with her own life. Because cheating on Stan is bad, and it definitely is, especially since, again, Kelly was the one who compelled her to do it. I just feel like the possibility is very bad, because I've seen a situation like this play out in real life, and let me tell you, the fallout ain't pretty from either side. I mean, we saw here that Haley almost died because of that, because they had to perform a paternity test on Stan before potentially removing his kidney. And even if Stan doesn't want to know, I do think Haley should know. I think what makes it worse is that the episode, while it does call out Francine, also has to have Stan learn a lesson too, as his knee-jerk reaction means that he has to get past Francine and Joel Larson laid. And the thing is, because of how time travel works, well, this is just a me thing, there's a huge possibility they could have changed things. And because of that, stuff might be screwed up. I mean, Joel Larson could be missing a kidney for nothing for all we know. I don't know. Okay, look, here's not with a Muppet, okay?
Huh? Did you take off his pants and jacket? Ah!
My grandmother's here. She's dying.
Oh, it's not.
Not seeing any sage. You're telling me the forest is out of sage? You're using again, aren't you?
I'm naughty for including this section, since this plot is one of my favorites. Not for weird reasons, for humor reasons. And also I like the song. I need to be punished after this review. I mean, Stan is honestly, I hate to say it, a very repressed asexual person who believes in the old-fashioned fundamentals. He's so vanilla in bed, he makes Hank Hill look like Rihanna in that one video. And a good many episodes deal with the idea he can't satisfy Francine in bed because he only thinks about his own pleasure. Ugh, I'd rather sleep with Adam. The missing king takes this route and goes a step further. Francine wants to try something a little different in bed, but Stan still isn't willing, which hey, in Stan's defense, it's his right.
If we're missing out on something we might like even better, I could bring in some jelly.
Jelly? Do I look like toast to you, Francine?
I'm a big believer in trying new things, but for something like that, you need to go to the pace of what your partner wants. And if Stan says no, well, there's other options Francine herself can try that I won't get into because YouTube, and likely also can't be tried in Texas. But okay, lately, Stan has begun disciplining Steve by spanking him, which is not good parenting, it's wrong, and it's child abuse.
Now go to your room!
I do not approve of your methods!
But you know how I constantly say I don't approve of spanking as a punishment? Yeah, I don't really approve of it here. Again, don't get me wrong, it's hilarious. I fully admit when an episode is funny. But from a critical standpoint, yeah, no. See, Stan argues that he isn't disciplining Steve that hard when he spanks him, which doesn't matter, dude, you're still spanking him. So he tries to demonstrate on Francine to great effect.
Oh my.
What do you mean, oh my? It's supposed to hurt.
No, it does! But show me again how you do it.
Oh my. The thing is, this awakens something in Francine, and she decides to trick Stan into spanking her on the regular because he's not gonna do it in bed, saying,
I'll be taking all of Steve's spankings on his behalf because his mistakes are a reflection on my parenting. When Steve fails, I fail.
Oh, and making it seem like Steve is a delinquent so Stan can spank her instead. Eventually, Stan does catch on, and he's justifiably pissed. But rather than just smack Francine around with a Bible, because honestly, I feel like she'd probably enjoy that.
When you've purged your sick desire to be spanked, you can come home.
What? You can't just leave me here.
You've left me no choice.
He decides to abandon her in the woods, but Franny does fine and tells him she won't come home until he admits he's repressed. Okay, I don't know how to describe this episode. It's weird, okay? Look, yes, Francine did something wrong. I just feel like this is one of those episodes where they take the other person's side. I don't agree with Stan that having a kink makes you a bad person. We all have something a little dirty we enjoy, and so long as it's between 2 or more consensual parties, so like no children or animals, and everybody is on the same page, it's perfectly okay, and you should explore it if you want to. It's just Stan is obviously unwilling, and yeah, I think the fact he got tricked into doing that is not good. Like, no offense, Franny, this is the dude who invented celibate sock puppet or tried to get his son to take a vow of abstinence just because he did not want to give his son the talk those 2 times. On the bright side, I guess Franny gets her wish. A song and dance with Roger convinces him to try something with her, but since Stan is one of those people who cannonballs rather than dips a toe, his version of trying is basically everything and anything he can get his hands on, or around. That was an improv. So Stan ends up overwhelming Francine with his new appetites and only stops when Roger, okay, go watch the episode, I'm not telling you, okay? At least she says sorry.
It's all my fault. I pushed you to do something you were uncomfortable with when I should have just accepted that this is how you are.
Strangely, I'm surprised this wasn't a Widowmaker situation. You know, the one where Stan tricks Francine just to get out of doing something, and Francine, when she finds out, is like, OMG, I love you! Just saying, this episode was about Francine tricking Stan. What if Stan tried to maintain a normal bedroom routine by tricking her? Like, that'd be a funny reveal, but that's just me in my brain.
I'm here to talk about rebar placement and planned gap structure coordination. Huh?
A theme in many Francine episodes is that she feels a lack of drive in her life, that while she enjoys being a wife and a mother, she wishes she can do more than just housewifing. And in Farbreak Hotel, she got that wish, if only temporarily, and saw the grass was greener on the other side. Roger's carbon monoxide farts means the Smiths have to stay at a hotel for the next week, and thanks to Roger's past persona of Reaganomics Lamborghini, they get to stay at a really nice one, free of charge. Since the hotel is 5-star, Francine doesn't have to cook for her family or clean up after them, and she realizes, Christ on a stick, she can't relax because what is she supposed to do? She has no frickin' life. Wow, she's like me.
The last 20 years, I've just taken care of my family.
Sounds like someone needs to get a life.
So she wanders around and gets mistaken for a concrete saleswoman named Sarah Blanche.
Yes, that's me. I am Sarah Blanche.
Strangely, Francine finds she has a knack for BSing and gets very far as Sarah, even if she don't know what the hell she's talking about, but hey. But the thing is, well, it's still bad for a couple of reasons. I mean, she's impersonating a dead woman, like staying in a room that isn't hers or drinking alcohol that isn't hers, or basically wearing a costume that isn't hers, while neglecting Stan who can't even choose his own socks, which admittedly, yeah, part of that is on Stan, but she did promise, like, oh, I'll come back.
Oh, she forgot the socks. Now, which ones go with the suit? Navy or black? Francine!
And also, to be fair, Sarah died in a car accident, but most nobody knows that. So, for all they know, Sarah could just show up one day and say Francine stole her life. Later, she gets an offer to continue on as Sarah longer than a week. Forever, actually. It's actually a really good offer, to be honest.
You to come manage my Portland facility. Say yes, and tomorrow you can fly to your new life in Economy Plus with only one stop in Denver.
Obviously, she could tell Stan and Steve, but that also means removing them from their own lives, which is kind of unfair to them. But Francine thinks that if she doesn't, she'll just go back to being a housewife, even if it's implied Sarah is rich enough that Francine could likely just hire like a housekeeper to look after Stan, or a nanny, so she could like have her cake and eat it too. But instead, she decides to leave her family behind and go take over Sarah's life.
You're not actually taking the job in Portland. Think about your family!
Francine Smith spent her whole life thinking about her family, and what did it do for her?
Also, she insulted one dude who supported her because she needed to rally the crowd and made fun of the fact he was Asian and scared them. Not cool, Franny.
The Chinese! The Chinese threat to our domestic concrete industry!
Decades later, we discover that Francine has lived a sad, empty existence as Sarah Blanche. She's at the top of her game, she's incredibly wealthy, but she's also incredibly lonely and has no family or friends. What's worse, Stan moved on, and so did Steve, because Stan remarried.
Let me ask, are you happy with the life you've chosen?
No. No, I'm not.
All of this causes Francine to rectify things by going back in time, which I do think is good, but it doesn't change the fact she tried to abandon her family and successfully did so for a chance at fame. And like I said, she could have made it work. Even White Rice pointed out that if she got famous, she could have made it work. Sarah would be working in a major city. I'm sure Stan could find a CIA office out there to go transfer to, and she'd likely have assistants to help her take care of Stan and Steve and Roger and do her work on top of that. It's just a really bad situation any way you slice it.
Still classified?
Yes.
I brought brownies.
Brownies!
Christ on a stick, why does Francine constantly seek to ruin her son's life? I'm sure even Norma Bates wasn't this possessive. Like, so many entries on this list alone are just her messing with Steve. Steve starts puberty, which admittedly does suck for a kid, but more so for the parents since they're the ones who have to bear the brunt of it.
Honey, that's wonderful. We're so happy for you.
Yes, very happy. Now go ahead and pull up your pants.
I hated puberty. I was the last one to get my period, and I stank, and I had body hair. Not the kid who was actually going through puberty and experiencing all of these new, disgusting changes. With Francine and Stan, it sucked extra hard for them because they had to originally put up with Haley, who was not a cakewalk. More like a little tiny slice of cake.
I cleaned all the kid crap from my room. I'm gonna dump it, then go for a jog.
It's a little chilly out. Wear a sweater.
Hey! You're my mother, not my thermometer.
Also, they get so scared at Steve's puberty, they forget to celebrate Roger's birthday. And not just any birthday, his 1600th birthday. And he was so excited.
Okay, freak show's over. Let's get back to my birthday. Where are you guys going? Come back! Francine, the frosting!
Francine doesn't want Steve to grow up, while Stan doesn't want Steve to go crazy like Haley. Stan basically just wants him to skip over puberty, Francine wants him to be a kid forever. So Francine plans on delaying Steve's puberty, and since this was early on, nobody has heard of puberty blockers. Wait, would they actually work in this case? So Francine gets an experimental serum from the CIA to delay Steve's aging. And, well... Guess he'll never get to puberty now with that wicked needle infection, Franny. He'll probably be dead by morning. Francine's efforts turn Steve into a toddler as she used too much of the serum. And yeah, Franny, be glad he's cute. Be glad you ruined his life.
Press 4, please. I said 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hit 3.
I know. I saw.
You've got string bean legs.
Although, while this is happening, Steve was confident enough to ask Lisa Silver out, because puberty meant that he could now become better looking and more confident. And since he's a child now, well, Lisa Silver thinks it's a joke and dumps him, meaning Francine might have destroyed his social life in addition to his regular life.
Look at me, being escorted around town by this handsome little gentleman.
I'm speaking calmly, but there is a tantrum brewing in me, the likes of which this mall has never seen.
On the bright side, at least Stan also gets in on the nonsense by giving Steve a serum, which turns him into an old man, so no clean hands here. The two do realize they should let Steve grow up naturally, revolutionary concept, I know, and they return him to his regular age, even if it means he will get bullied. But hey, at least they learned their lesson, that's all that matters here, right?
What happened to your dress?
Isn't it obvious? I'm tearing off pieces, shoving them in a bottle of vodka, and using it to start fires.
Francine, I'm sure even Beavis wouldn't approve of your fire-related actions. A Song of Ice and Fire is not a pretty one for Francine nor Stan. I mean, Stan himself comes out of this looking like that one dude from Nightmare Before Christmas that Jack touched. In a non-weird way. Why did I say it like that? Francine and Stan end up at an open house for a fire station. Really, Stan? They are not all what they're cracked up to be. I mean, sure, you have Keep David Fireman right there, but you still gotta work to put out fires. And go to elementary schools to preach the good word of the firefighter to naive children, while I preach the good word of being gay to children. And you've seen that episode of King of the Hill where they reenact the Three Stooges. It's not fun. Francine, like most of us, isn't a huge fan of the fire station, but Stan somehow wins a week-long escapade as a firefighter. Somehow.
Wait, please let this pancake be my ticket.
Who has 31?
31? I think that's me.
Of course, like I said above, 98% of the time, it's pretty boring being an actual firefighter, especially if you live in a small town. And Stan himself is an intern, so I doubt outside of putting out small fires, like unless they really needed the manpower, they let him do most of anything. Yeah, so tell that to Francine. To help boost Stan's confidence and give him something to do, Francine starts a small fire for him to put out, which is bad, but I get her thought process. She wants to help her husband, and the only way she knew how to was to help him with his new job.
This'll do. And I know I've got matches in here somewhere. Phone. Brick.
What up, Franny?
Got him!
And to be fair, from her perspective, it was a small fire, even if small fires are still bad because they can go out of control. The thing is, well, this is Francine. Watching Stan put out the fire gives her some kind of horribly sick urge and thrill, and she becomes the town arsonist, starting fires for Stan to put out. Dude, no!
Hi.
Oh my.
I think at one point she even somehow sets fire to the Family Guy house. I don't know how that one's possible considering how they live in Rhode Island and American Dad takes place in Virginia, but okay, that one I approve of. Really should have been the Cleveland Show house. I guess maybe they didn't have the rights to that one. But regardless, Missy May, it's still bad. Starting fires of any kind is bad. What if it's to make dinner? Still bad. Go out to eat. I know for some people it probably gives them a sense of control, but fire really isn't something that can be tamed or trained unless you're a professional. And even then, it's still very difficult. And you clearly aren't a professional, Franny. And it builds up from there. Because Francine starts setting fires to houses and plans on setting fire to a dumpster. Wow, she really is taking after Beavis. And not just any dumpster.
Once I complete my masterpiece, where it all began, I'll be done. But more likely I'll do it forever because I love it.
No dumpster. I'm sure Stan won't find this meaningful when he has to put out the fire. He's just gonna think you're an arsonist. That's what you are by technical definition, I'm sorry. As expected, Francine gets hoisted by her own petard. I can't use that other word because even if it relates to fire, you really can't say that word anymore. It's very bad. But the point is, she gets trapped in one of the fires she made. Mama's like, you should leave it to the professionals. And Stan is forced to save her, but he ends up looking like...
He's gonna say something!
Christ on a stick, dude, even Blitz looked better than that. Was it worth it, Franny? Was it truly worth it? You're lucky Stan works for people who know how to reconstruct faces.
Not still mad at his mommy for the whole breast milk situation.
I will never accept food or drink from you again!
Is this about the breast milk situation?
Yeah, this one is very bad. I know you're all expecting it, but it's very bad. I even made a video on how it's very bad. It's no secret that Francine and Steve have a very close relationship. She considers him her baby and coddles him to an unhealthy degree. Heck, one of the candidates for this list was the episode Iced Ice Babies, where Francine spends the entire episode sad that Steve has a girlfriend, and even trying to sabotage his chances with her so he'll spend more time with her. And even when she learned her lesson just to let Steve be free, she told him no girl would want to love him.
Because you know it's wrong.
It's completely natural. It's just that society doesn't understand.
Sorry, tangent, but yeah, Francine still hasn't learned her lesson. One night, Klaus is walking around when he discovers Francine's secret milking room.
Okay, it's a breast pump. I pump a little breast milk now and then and sneak it into Steve's food.
A little? You've got the pump turned all the way up to thirsty boy.
Ever since Steve was a baby, Francine has been secretly giving him her breast milk, like after he should be weaned. And only Steve, by the way, because of the bond with her son or whatever, I don't know.
See? You have been drinking it, bro! So gross!
Mom, why? With everything on my plate right now?
Ew, gross! Even Steve himself is disgusted, as he should be. Rightfully so, Steve starts to rebuke Francine. So to get Steve to try her breast milk again, she starts drugging his other beverages, and lying and saying that he's getting sick because the milk was the thing giving him strength. Without it, he'll just grow weak.
And I've got the proof! Ha! You think that was my only copy?
Yes.
You're right.
So Francine and Steve get close, while Steve unironically participates in an Oedipus Rex musical in the style of Hamilton, and Francine helps him. However, he gets nervous on the day of the big performance when he runs out of milk, and Francine doesn't have any on her. Or does she?
Huh? There's my movie!
Yeah!
Okay, now the reason I consider this one of the worst is because of something called karma. Normally, when I make these lists, I try to rank them by karma or how much consequences they got for their actions. Maybe the action itself is bad, but I feel karma kind of balances things out for me. Here, Francine gets a little karma for what happened, and it gets worse. And like, very little. For publicly breastfeeding her teenage son, Francine and Steve get exiled to the basement. And, well...
Little Stevie! Time for bed!
Nuh-uh.
Cooperate, young man.
But when Francine discovers from Roger just how weird it is, she tries to get Steve to see the light. Yeah, too bad thanks to her machinations, Steve still wants milk and he doesn't want to leave. So what does Francine do to get him out? Bees!
You've been in a coma and you haven't had a drop of milk in almost a year.
What happened?
Let's not worry about who ate bees to poison who.
Oh god, Francine was probably the one who killed the Bridgerton daddy. Yeah, again, Francine gets no karma for like any of this. Maybe you could argue Steve telling her off at the beginning, but she just convinced him otherwise. Maybe you can argue being forced to live in the basement, but she still gets to leave in the end. All this has done has scared me off of milk and also soda. Thanks, Franny. And I used to like Wawa and Quick Check milkshakes.